Hello and good morning. Welcome to Bars and Bells. My name is Ian.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is the Weekend Workout, Episode 1, Semester 5, the last semester of 2024. Let's start with the basics. Hands, wrists, heads and necks, shoulders and cores. And then from there, we'll probably crawl and move around and squat and move to those ultimate handstand goals that we have and hopefully you can embrace as well.
Great. Let's start by getting to the floor and getting onto those wrists right away. So to do that, we'll bend our knees towards over our toes, and then we'll stand back up tall. Not yet. We'll do that again. We'll get our knees towards over our toes, and then let's stay the same heights and peel a heel up off the floor, and then press a heel down, and switch, lifting the other heel, and then down. And one more time on each side, peeling that heel up and down. And lastly, up. Now let's pull both heels off the floor, slowly descend, and then knees with or without your hands, landing softly, extending the hips through, pointing the toes out the back, and sitting back on those feet for 1 second. 1 Mississippi. Then extending the hips back up, and now we'll hinge, placing those hands on the floor, fingers facing forward, then callus line, then the palms. Now that we're here, look down, all your fingers are nice and spread out. Let's rotate those elbow pits or blood donations as far forward as we can while keeping our shoulders down and those lats or armpits engaged. Now, as we stay here, could we press up to those first knuckles and then control the down? And do that again. Press up to those first knuckles and control the down. And last time, up to those first knuckles and control the down. Now as we come up this time, we'll press through those first knuckles, flick the floor away, and give that little shake out. Let's do a full 180 turn of those hands. So now this time, fingers come down, facing our knees, and land softly onto those palms. We'll shrug our shoulders up, I don't know, and then pull them down into those lats again. Our elbows are as straight as possible for ourselves, and we're gently sitting back, but keep those palms heavy. Now as we're back here, shoulders are down. Push all your fingers heavy into the floor. Press, 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 and that'll start sending you forward. And then relax that tension, and let's do it one more time. We'll drift back, and we'll push all those fingers heavy in the floor. Stay for now, and then push yourself forward. And last time, we'll sit back, and we'll try to bend the elbows first, and then we'll continue bending, peeling the palms away, and giving that a light shake out. Next, we have one more wrist, and then we'll hand it back to Ian as we come forward into those fists of hands. On our fists, we're on knuckles 1 and 2, trying not to go towards that pinky because then we got that wobbly wrist there. With our shoulders down, we'll roll over the back of one of our hands at a time, opening the palm towards the ceiling, trying to get the back of the hand towards the floor and the elbow pit to face forward. Now push into the floor to come back up to that fist in a nice straight arm in line. Repeat on the other side, over the back of the hand. If you're finding this challenging, bring that hand a little bit closer to your knees or to your body. Press back up, or even try doing this up against a wall. Last time, each side, roll over the back of the hand. Pinkies touching, index, middle, ring finger and thumbie, and then push back down. And last time, to open up the back of that hand, that should feel like some tension and work through the fuzzy part of your forearm there. And then press back up. Let's push the floor away, and should we stand up or do something from here?
Standing up sounds good.
So we'll tuck those toes with or without the hands. We'll rock ourselves back. Let's stay on those balls of feet toes as we press ourselves up, finding our first balance, and then control the down. I just like to adjust some lighting, so continue on there.
Adjust the lighting and we'll continue. And we'll continue on with the head neck and then through the rib cage with a little bit of a detour at the shoulder blades in between. So first at the head neck, extension would be looking up. Flexion, looking down. Lateral flexion, ear towards shoulder. Return to middle, repeat on the other side. Other two actions of the neck include a rotation to the right, through the middle, a rotation to the left, and then back. Now putting that all together, think of figure 8 pattern, taking the neck into a subtle flexion shape, head on the neck there. I'll rotate to my right, looking across my shoulder, then looking at Lauren, I'll look at the ceiling, and with my chin in line with my belly button, I'll flex back down through the middle. Repeating to the other side. Rotation. That extension shape looking up. Rotating back to the middle and crown high to return the chin low. Now stabilize the front of the neck as to pull down, but extend towards looking up. Then repeat in the other direction as a rotation, our side bend, our circling shape back down to the front. And for the final time, it's pulling down on the neck to stabilize extension, and then rotation to the other side, our chin tuck, and then looking back down and calmly resetting the head, looking forward on the horizon. We said that little detour in the middle, namely those shoulder blades. So with the hands lightly placed at the sides, safely straighten the elbows, cramp them up, and hug, adduction, hug the body. We might feel those lats and those arms safely say, whoa, got some strength. And then just relax that. So apply that tension again, straight elbows, hands at the sides, and in a light capacity, shrug up. Then find those armpits or lats as we depress or pull back down. Repeat one more time. In our handstand practice, in your down dogs, the shrug is good. In our kettlebell practice, that's on Tuesdays, pull the armpits low. Push the shoulders forward. That's also a gymnastic style of shape or body weight shape. In the kettlebells, we like to keep those shoulder blades retracted back. Often our movements are interactions between a place like forward and a place like back, and just keep building that awareness between the shoulder blades to be stable when we start to use those arms. For this next bit, the last bit for me until we hand it back to Lauren, it's that rib cage movement, very much like we did with the head neck. I like to open my stance just to vary it up a little bit, and here, imagine holding an apple or something similar size between the chin and that top of your sternum, and then retract the blades. From there, it's that flexion shape through the rib cage. Then let's add that rotation to the back corner. Incorporate our side bend, lift up and over to the middle, and then easy does it, keep the blades retracted as we flex forward. Then we'll rotate the other way, that's to my left, and then we'll do our side bend to the back corner, lift up and over to the middle, never lose your shield, and then easy does it, flex back down. Now engage that shield of abs as we then extend through the rib cage or T-spine up, and then add our rotation to the back corner, side bend. Lauren's looking great here. The hips are staying forward, encouraging your hips to stay forward too. And pull down on the abdominals to help extend through that rib cage. And our final rotation is to the left for me or the other way for you. A side bend to that back corner. And again, a circling shape back around to the front. Pull down on abs to extend nice and tall. Apply some wiggles and shakes where you need. And from working the head and the neck and those shoulder blades in between, I can't wait to see what Lauren has inspired here.
Oh, let's get those hips warmed up before our first crawl of the day. So let's take a single leg and step it back into our high lunge position. In this position, our front shin is vertical and our back butt cheek is squeezed. And even in this top position, we should feel some work through the front of that hip. Now let's continue feeling that or keep that extension as we pull ourselves down. So that means scissoring, pulling the front leg in, pushing the back hip forward, keeping the bowl of punch level as we land softly on the floor. Now that we're there, let's pull on that front leg, drifting a little bit. I'm not going that far this morning because that back hip feels that extension a lot. And then we're pushing forward to come back up to tall. Let's repeat that one more time. We'll drift forward, knee towards over toe, and then slowly keep the cage down. Press ourselves up. All right, here, let's add some work in here. So we're pushing forward and back. Now could we hover that back knee off the floor? Then could we lift the front heel and put it down? And try that again. Lift the front heel and put it down. Then we'll come to mid station, lifting that front heel, putting it down. High station, one more time, front heel up. Add a challenge if you like. Keep the heel up as you come back down into that lunge. Then heel down, and we'll go up together. Whew. Shake that out, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So other leg steps back into that high lunge position. Back hip pushing forward. front leg pulling in. Slowly descending and landing softly on that back knee. Now with that back cheek squeezed and the front leg pulled in, we'll drift our knee towards over our toe, breathing, keeping the hip extended, and then push yourself back to tall. Trying to keep the shoulder, the hip, and the back knee as one line as we again drift forward, breathe, and then press yourself back up to tall. Now let's do the same routine. We push forward and back. We hovered the back knee. And then we lifted the front heel and put it down. Mid station, lift the front heel, put it down. High station, lift the front heel. Try to keep it lifted if allowed. As you descend, knee lands, heel down, up together. Ooh, excellent.
Lunges in this class, lunges in that kettlebell class, and as Lauren said there, just keep finding that scissor tension that we're wearing the load on the quads and the glutes and the hips, avoiding excessive tension on the knees and that low back.
All right, I think it's time for our first crawl.
Fun.
It's always nice to warm up with that elephant, so let's get there via our hinge. With our feet in our hip width position, we'll chop the hips back. Oh yeah, we'll have those vertical shins, we'll feel those hamstrings, and then we'll tip ourselves forward. And once we're here, hands are glued to the floor, our hips are lifted, tailbone tipped to the ceiling, and you might start with a light bend in your knees. Right now, for a second, don't worry about pushing those heels down, but instead think about lifting the femurs up to the ceiling. Breathe. Whew. All right, now, as allowed, we'll take our opposite hand and foot in a step forward. We're in that contralateral position, breathing, trying to continue to reach that tailbone to the ceiling or that anterior tip of the hips, pulling in the femurs. Last one or so in the forward direction. Now could we pattern it backwards? So opposite hand and foot again, stepping in the backwards direction here. Breathing, whew. Last one or two. And then once you're back to where you started, bend those knees, walk the feet back, come back to your hinge position, and press through to tall.
Using those crawls to check in on Lauren's extensions of Lauren's wrist warm up there. And the hamstrings are definitely alive today, but they're sizzling. It's kind of a nice stretch, nice load. Avoid anything that's so oppressive or so exciting because it's still early in the morning. But now Lauren warmed up those ankles and toes in our squat. And from here, let's just try to open our stance. So take a single leg to the front and do our turnout rotation from the femur at the hip and bring that leg underneath. Then repeat the same thing on the other side, leg front, turn out from the hip and underneath. Now this is a fairly narrow squat stance, and just ensure that our knees and toes are going the same way versus diverging angles. Pulling yourself down into that squat shape, try to keep heavy on the pinky side of the foot and get your knees to touch the wall behind you. Then press with the hips, press with your belt buckle location and push your hips all the way through. Repeating again, pull yourself down, flat feet, heavy on the thumb or big toe side, the pinky, as much as that heel, and then push your hips through again. Repeating one more time, pull yourself low. This time, just let the heels come up a little bit at a time and ensure that those medial malleolus there, those ankle bones down low, are pushing forward. Then press the heels to the floor and push the hips through further to extend. 3 repetitions in a slightly wider stance. Maybe more conventional stance for something like a goblet squat or your back squat. Pull yourself down. Keep your upper body upright. We will be slightly leaned forward, of course, but then press your hips through, finishing tall. This is our squat, hallmarks of which butt or hips are trying to get as low or just a little bit lower than the knees. Push your hips through, but without tucking under, or at least not too soon. This time it's going to be some heel lifts, so let's pull ourselves down and lift a single heel up, pushing that ankle bone forward and then place down. Repeat on the other side. Breathe, heel down. Get lower, even if it's in your imagination, and then find that tension to push through. Assemble the legs back together, and then it's back to Lauren for more crawls, I assume.
Excellent. Let's continue on that elephant, but add a little plank action into that.
Nice.
So we'll get back to the floor, but this time, actually, we're gonna move in the forward direction. So just make sure you're as close to your back wall as possible. Yes. Now let's get to the floor via our fold this time. So blades are together, chin is tucked. Let's flex through that C-spine. Then let's keep the blades together and try to flex through the T-spine, which is our rib cage. And then we'll pull that belly button in as best as we can today. And we'll try to flex and fold forward like we're in an alleyway. Breathing, keep the weight shifted forward in those feet is to keep the hips extended. And then we'll walk ourselves out into a plank to start. So in our plank position, our hands are underneath our shoulders. Our butt cheeks are squeezed, and we're breathing. We're pulling the floor together underneath of us. We're bracing our abs for 3, 2. Now our hips are gonna lift, and we're gonna walk our feet in towards our hands as close as we can get them. Tight, tight, tight. Oh yeah. And we're breathing. And then we're gonna peel through those hands as we walk forward again into another plank position. This time, let's think about pulling the floor together, pulling our right hand to our left hip and our left hand to our right hip and squeezing our cheeks and breathing. And then lifting the hips and walking our feet towards our hands. We're going to try this one more time. Keep those hands flat on the floor. Maybe you got a millimeter closer this time. And our last walk forward. If you have no room to walk forward, just walk your feet backwards. Back out into that plank position. Hold. Pull in parallel. Pull in X pattern. Then lift hips. Last time, walk those feet right tight to the hands. Breathe. Peel the palms away. Tuck the chin. Slowly stack yourself up using the muscles on the front and the back of your spine to stand up tall. Give it a little shake out.
Nice. How does this practice make you feel? I know personally, this feels exciting and good, and my body feels alive and ready for what's next. We hope that's the same for you. Maybe leave a comment on how the bars and bells practice helps you throughout your day, your weekend day, your work day, whatever day it is, because this is also stored in the archive. But until we go back towards more crawls and more hand movements, let's come back to the squat. A little more dynamic approach to our squat today. Open up to where we finished off the last time in our wide stance. Some weight transfers here. The sumo squat, Chico squat inspiration. Pull yourself down, and when we stand up, pull your legs straight back together. Then pick up the foot, point through the toes, land gracefully, and then big power, pull yourself back together. Repeat that again if that's challenging enough, or this time, find your single leg base of support, and then extend on the knee, land through the foot, then repeat on the other side, safe and stable on the standing leg. Then point and land, and either the same thing, or find that knee, and extend, and land, and finish tall again, cramping that standing leg bum cheek, and point. As you do that one last time here, giving ourselves just a little bit more room, extend the leg, push the hip through, lean to the side, finding some of those moments, and then land with control, power up again, extend the leg, keep that standing hip extended or pushing forward as we lean towards the other side. One last time on that low squat, and power up nice and tall. Awesome.
Oh, excellent. So we travel a little bit forward and backward. Let's try traveling side to side this time. We warmed up that squat, so we'll come down into that position again, and we'll start small. As we pull ourselves down here, we are going to traverse with a hand, foot, foot pattern. So a hand, and then a foot, foot. And start with a little hop. Let's do it again, a hand, and maybe a slightly bigger hop, foot, foot. And one more time, a hand, and a foot, foot. If that felt okay, let's do 3 back to where we came from. Hand, foot, foot. Whoops. If you don't have that much space side to side, you could do one way and one back the other way. We're trying to find a little more hang time in the air with that hand, and foot, foot. Coming back to the squat position and pressing yourself up. through to tall.
We can squat on 2 feet. We can also squat on our single leg. This time, let's warm up those single leg balances and then apply our squat techniques to it. Pull up a single leg. Either have a heavy pointed or plantar flex ankle there, or that dorsiflex is fine too, but keep tension in that foot all the way from the hip as allowed. Maybe standing on that leg is challenging enough. If we could do 2 repetitions here, let's pull ourselves down, upper body nice and tall, and extend that hip, pushing the hip through, and then finish straightening the knee, pulling up the kneecap. Repeat just one more time here. As you pull ourselves down, it's harder to go slow or harder to pause. Play with those training volumes that way, not necessarily more repetitions. Let's switch to the other side and do the same thing. So as you pull the leg up, we're extended or tall on that standing leg, either a point or the heavy dorsiflex ankle, and from here, easy does it on the knee bend. You might have one that's easier than the other, and from here, it's that hip extend through, finishing tall. Repeating one more time, pulling ourselves down with control, and then cramping up the glutes, extending through, straight knee to finish, and back to 2 feet. More squat variations to come, perhaps culminating with that pistol squat or single leg squat, but until then,
Crawling time again. Let's continue mixing our elephant and our squat into a Spider-Man. You might wonder how you get there. Well, let's start with the hinge. Hip hinge. Walk yourself out into your plank position. Right now, we're going to bring a foot up beside a hand. And as we're here, we're going to try to keep our spine nice and long. Our back leg straight by squeezing our back butt cheek. Now reach that front knee forward and that back leg back, and then pull that tension back to center. Let's lift that front foot, placing it back where you got it, and repeat on the other side. Other leg comes up. If this is challenging from the floor, you could get a couple blocks or books and stack those hands up a little higher. Again, we're straightening the back knee with the butt cheek, reaching the front knee forward, then lifting that front foot off the floor and putting it back. Adding on a little bit, let's bring that front foot up again, or the first foot up. Now let's bend the back knee. Breathe. Try to keep the spine nice and long here. And now could we lift the back heel up off the floor, back toes, and try to get the heel close to the butt, keeping the back butt cheek squeezed and avoiding that lumbar dump or arch in the low back. Then tuck the back toe. Lift the back knee. For this time, could we bring that back foot up beside our front hand? So we have 2 feet up, and then put the other foot back behind us. One more time, back knee comes down, spine stays long. Back knee bends, heel comes towards butt. Butt cheek squeezed, long spine. Then tuck back toe, lift back knee, return that back leg to the front, low squat position. Chest is lifted. Can we extend our arms out front for more fun? And then out to a T. And then from there, bring them back to center. And then next from the T, could we make our arms come towards a Y? And back to center. And then last time, could we get those arms towards an I shape? And breathe and straighten the elbows. And then pull them back into that rack and press to tall.
That's a big stretch through that upper back and those hips. A comprehensive full body workout here with bars and bells. There's one more thing for me for that squat, and maybe Lauren has a little secret up her sleeve, if you will. But until then, let's get to that squat. So let's go back to that single leg. On our single leg, could we, at that low position, take a leg out front and point and hold? Perhaps we could do some in and out turns here, but making sure that we can have that foot high tension, dorsiflexed or point. Return it underneath. Now let's do a single repetition of our squat. Knee down and press the hip through. Keep that ankle there if that's for you, or could you climb to the knee? And for one last repetition, let's do the same thing. Aim to keep the knee straight. Perhaps you can try some of those in and external rotations in the hip. Push through, return it to the knee, and then same thing, apply the squat. 3, 2, 1, push through, finish tall. Ooh, I had to step out of it a little bit. Take your time. Let's do 2 reps on the other side. So stand tall and work on that balance. Anchor the foot. Straighten that leg out front then. And again, just practice some of those in and out rotations, practicing more of those on Thursdays or whatever day we record it at the bar class. Then underneath, and then from there, a single repetition of a squat, and then extend the hip through. Climb the leg if that's available for you, and then straighten the leg and hold. Is the bottom leg straight? Lauren's cue here would be, are you on the front of the foot, making sure the heel's connected, but a lot of weight on the front. Then return underneath and repeat one more repetition in that squat. Beautiful range, Lauren. And then extend through, finish tall. I promise that's it for today for me with the squat. Anything else to share, Lauren?
Well, we did a little bit of air time in our lateral movements. So we should explore a little bit more air time in one round of our tripod kick up.
Sounds fun.
So that means our hands will be on the floor. We'll have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and we'll just try to kick up to change legs. So all we're trying to do is get a little time on the wrist. Can we kick and change legs? And kick and change legs. Good. And maybe we get a little bit more higher kick and a little higher kick, but safely. That's what could be as high as you go, or a little more oomph. Let's do it about 4 more times. Breathing, bracing. Last 1 or 2. Whew. And then we'll come to standing, pushing the floor away. Oh, and shake
We're back to it.
A little bit upside down.
Whew. Taking our time getting there. We love those handstand skills, although it has been a couple weeks since we've practiced them. So I was pretty impressed with us right there, honestly. But it's not about us as much as it is about sharing with you. So take time working the wrist mobility drills. Check in with those shoulders and core strategies and build those small parts to assimilate in very big fun skills like the handstand.
Excellent. We progress with those crawls. We make sure those wrists are feeling good. And on Tuesday, we're back to that kettlebell practice where we'll continue working on our squats and other variations with our kettlebells, like our single arm swings and cleans. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Check out our website. And until next time, take care.
Stay strong.
And let's train soon.
Have a good day.
Goodbye.